Like many American black families, the ancestry of the Sargents traces back to the Caribbean, specifically Barbados. The earliest descendants were enslaved people in the Cuffey family who were brought in, probably from Nigeria to St. Philip's Parish, along the southeasterly shore of the island in the late 1600s. The Cuffeys married into the Sargent family in the line that would include James Richard Sargent, who was born a free man in 1785 near Bailey's plantation in St. Philip. He was said to be a literate mulatto man who was involved in aspects of sugar management that allowed him the privilege of traveling freely throughout the island. In 1816, the already horrific life of the slaves was looking to worsen and tempers were rising. Predictably, the powder keg was destined to explode, and on the evening of Easter Sunday, a rebellion was taking shape. The organization and leadership of the rebellion evolved on a number of sugarcane plantations, with each estate choosing its insurrection leader. The Simmons plantation, one of the largest on the island, had 3 leaders: John Grigg, Nanny Grigg, and an enslaved person known only as Jackie. The Bailey Plantation uprising was led by 4 enslaved people: King Wiltshire, Dick Bailey, and enslaved men, Johnny and Bussa. The revolt was named after Bussa. The rebellion started on Easter Sunday night, April 14, 1816. It broke out with cane fields being burned in St. Philip Parish, signalling to other rebels in the central and southern parishes that the rebellion had begun. It quickly spread from St. Philip to neighbouring parishes, which also experienced cane field burnings. In the first days of the rebellion, over 70 estates were affected, forcing white owners and overseers to flee to Bridgetown, the colonial capital, in panic. The planning and organisation of the rebellion were accompanied by a propaganda campaign orchestrated by 3 free literate black men: Cain Davis, Roach, and Richard Sargent. The rebellion was quickly quelled without large numbers of fatalities, but it did serve to hasten the British to abandon slavery. Sargent managed to survive the melee and sired a large family of 11, which included Nathaniel, Mary Augustine, Henrietta, Adeline, James Francis, Desdemona, Joseph, Magdalene, Benoni, and Frederick Adolphus. Nathaniel Sargent fathered Alexander Sargent in 1859 in Barbados. Alexander was said to have responded to an appeal for skilled labour after a hurricane and emigrated to the island of Nevis. Alexander, in turn, fathered James Foster Sargent in 1884 and Alexander Sargent Jr. in 1892. Both James Foster and Alexander Jr. ultimately joined the Great Migration, moving to New Haven, Connecticut around 1910.